It's 1985. My family and a few friends and members of the local church, we all gathered here to pay our respect to my grandfather, who had just passed away a few days prior. We shared the grief and we consoled each other. Regardless of who we are or where we live, the feeling is common to all. For some people, it may be a time of guilt. We dwell on the missed opportunities. Maybe we held a grudge or we're too busy, and now it's too late. I too wish I had have spent more time with my granddad. Here is grandfather's gravesite, and I must admit, I had no idea what he went through in his life. This man went through events and experiences that cannot be left untold. A very interesting drama lies right here, and also the history of the Biagioni family going back some 1700 years. For me, the big question was, why? Why would someone leave Europe, family, friends, come halfway around the world and set up all over again? Maybe a brief history lesson here may hold a clue and provide some answers for us. It would seem the lesson of history has been ignored. Here we are in 2022, and Europe again is under threat of war. In the 1800s, people were tired of this brutality, and so started the movement of entire families out of Europe. They went to America, Argentina, the United Kingdom, Ireland, and some, believe it or not, even ventured to the great land down under. This movement became known as the Great Diaspora. For those that decided to leave, they would do so through the port of Genoa, which was in the northern part of Italy. It's the year 1870, and my great-grandfather was born in the picturesque little village called Lucca, in the province known as Tuscany, northern Italy. His name was Giuseppino Biagioni, and this is traditionally the area that all the Biagionis came from. He eventually married a young lass called Maria Magani, and they had 4 children together, and one of those children was my grandfather, Azzolino, born on the 20th of February 1894. Well, the years just went by and those 4 little children grew up into young adults, and they too noticed that something was wrong with their homeland. It's day 24 of February 1913. He arrives at the port of Bremen. It's dark and it's cold, and there lies the ship Friedrich de Grossi. Today we would call that ship a rust bucket. Eyewitness accounts had nothing good to say about that ship. Back home in Italy, he must have read up on this mysterious land down under. This is as far away as you can get from Europe. Beautiful beaches, a strange landscape. One thing he would have noticed, great open spaces out here in Australia. So much land. But this was Perth back in 1913. That was the telegraph office there, and that's how he communicated with his relatives back home. And of course, it was bikes and trams. On the ship's manifest, it was noticed that an address was given as to where Azzolino was going to stay, and it was 217 William Street, Fremantle. And this is how it looked then, and today it's a thriving business and nothing much has changed. think the pressure was on for him from family to get back. So on the 25th of September 1914, he boards the ship SS Otway and he heads back across the Indian Ocean to India and then across to Saudi Arabia up through the Red Sea and across to Naples, the port of Naples on the southern part of Italy. This was a very sad time for him. The uncertainty, just what effect this war was going to have on him and his family, would they survive? And of course, there was such a thing as conscription. It would seem that all young people of his age would be called up to defend the country. We estimate it's about 1918 as Alino meets a young lady called Matilda. They fall in love, they get married, and they have 3 children. On his arrival, he was met with heatwave conditions. Everybody would flock to this particular beach to cool off, and he could just imagine Azzolino coming out here, particularly in the evenings, look out across the ocean and just wonder how his family was faring back home. He quickly got a job and worked in Perth City. Suddenly, without notice, on the 29th of October 1929, my grandfather's plans changed rapidly. Wall Street, New York City. The great stock market crash. This plunged the whole world into a state of economic chaos. This affected Azzolino's plans to bring his family out. There was no work, high unemployment, very little money, and a mass state of depression throughout the communities right around the world. The next 10 years were difficult times. It became known as the Great Depression. Meanwhile, back in Europe, it is now 1937, and the years are going by and Azzolino still has no family out here. But the political scene in Europe is changing for the worse.
Meine Arbeit für richtig hältst, ob du glaubst, dass ich fleißig gewesen bin, dass ich gearbeitet habe, dass ich mich in diesen Jahren für dich eingesetzt habe, dass ich anständig meine Zeit verwendet habe im Dienste meines Volkes. Gib du jetzt deine Stimme ab. Wenn ja, dann tritt für mich ein, so wie ich für dich eingetreten bin.
This little boy on the right was 8 years of age when this photo was taken. He's now 16, and this is my dad. He decides to make a run for it out here to Australia before the situation deteriorates rapidly in Europe. So on the 13th of November 1937, on the ship Romulo, he arrives at the port of Fremantle in Perth, West Australia. Suddenly, everybody's fear came true. Germany invaded Poland. World War II commenced. Most of young Marino's friends back home in Italy were killed during the war. Azzolino's wife, Matilda, and his 2 young boys were now trapped in a war-torn Europe. The Italian ship that he came out on, the Romulo, was later attacked by an Australian warship off the coast of Queensland, and it was sunk. The crew were taken to war camps near Shepparton, Victoria, places like Murchison and Myrtleford.
elastic Mussolini, the sawdust Caesar, comes to his end in the gutter, fitting climax to a life of treachery and double-cross. He led his country to ruin when he threw his lot in with Hitler. Oh yes, they saw some palmy days when Il Duce confidently stabbed France in the back. He had dreams of empire before the bayonets of the Allies deflated this false prophet. He was captured once before and rescued by German paratroops. This time he had no such chance. Partisans tried him along with his sweetheart and several henchmen. Just as these pictures show the trial previously of other key fascists and collaborators. He was brought before a firing squad, and in this manner he died as tyrants should, and was hung up by his heels. A fitting and glorious end.
The war is over, and it's now time to reconnect with family back in Europe. Now the untold horror of war becomes apparent. War crime. Here is one example in the village of Biagioni, one of many. It's 1947, and it's every parent's nightmare. Azzolino receives news that his youngest son, circled here, Tarzilio, has lost his life. At 20 years of age, my uncle Tarzilio has died. This was devastating news for Azzolino, and the question has to be asked, what happens now, and why is his family still over there in Europe? is now 1960. It has been 10 years since my dad converted to the Jehovah's Witness religion, and religion became the dominant force of his thinking. After many days of driving, the flat, rough terrain soon changed into lush green rolling hills and jagged ranges. We arrived late in the day, and we soon realised this was not the world's most exciting town. I had no idea that this was going to be home for the next 13 years.